And at that dinner with President-elect Donald Trump, Fox News is reporting from two sources who were at the same table that Trump suggested Canada become the 51st state if Trudeau did not like the tariffs. Fox News says Trudeau offered nervous laughter in response to the comment. Let's now invite Michael Gagan, political analyst, on the program. Michael, great to see you. Thanks for taking out the time.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so first let's just begin with what's happening here in Canada, and then we'll come to that remark of Donald Trump. So, Prime Minister, this is very rare to have met with opposition leaders in a closed room behind the door discussing Canada-US relationships. Of course, there seems to be some sort of urgency in how to deal with this incoming administration at the White House. Your take on how all opposition leaders have reacted to that meeting?
Well, I think Pierre Poilievre, some of the facts he was pronouncing in the clip earlier, I thought his analysis was spot on. And, another thing that isn't discussed enough in Canada is the fact that in terms of the U.S. terrorist watch list, they've had 8 to 10 times as many of these people on this terrorist watch list coming into the United States from Canada than have been coming into the United States from Mexico. So, the United States is extremely concerned about the open borders policy that until recently the Trudeau government has followed, and they're also very concerned about the fact that our country is flooded with drugs. So they have a legitimate reason to be concerned.
Yes, there are of course big concerns when it comes to drugs, when it comes to borders. Otherwise, we'll see those 25% tariffs. But I want to talk to you about even Jagmeet Singh and his reaction today. When he came out, he spoke about CBSA and saying how 1,100 officers are needed at the border to make the border secure. My question is, it's interesting to see how he comes up with that number when the CBSA itself is actually projecting a much larger number. What do you think is the strategy here on keeping that momentum or the pressure?
Well, I think clearly, we've even seen some premiers looking at sending police to the border to help reinforce things. So, clearly, like I say, and Canada hasn't been the only country. Britain did it, Ireland did it, but this sort of globalist open borders thing has proven an unmitigated disaster, which I think anyone with any common sense would have predicted happening. So clearly, there needs to be a tightening up. And then it's just a matter of directing the resources to do that. But that's something we needed to do as a country, regardless of any threats from the incoming Trump administration. So the irony here is we have a guy who's not even president yet, and he's basically slapped the Trudeau government up the side of the head and said, what are you doing? And if you don't get your act together, we're going to impose these serious tariffs. Now, that's very troubling for Canadians because, of course, we're also looking down the barrel of significant carbon tax increases coming down the pike in April. So the double whammy of that's going to be devastating to a country where as many Canadians or most Canadians are really struggling to make ends meet.
Right. What do you make of this phrase that has been used so often, especially after Donald Trump coming on social media and announcing the tariffs, Prime Minister giving him a call, of course, Premier's having a meeting with the Prime Minister, then Prime Minister flying down to Florida, then he's having a meeting today with the opposition leaders. And we've heard the phrase Team Canada approach so very often, Michael. Do you see that really working? Are we working as a team here?
Well, first of all, let's be clear. Trudeau has antagonized many of the Canadian premiers. In particular, the Premier of Alberta. With the kind of policies being announced by Stephen Jabot, which directly impact the economy. So it's hard to have a Team Canada approach when you feel like you're being actively attacked economically by the federal government. In terms of the opposition leaders, the problem, the sort of the elephant in the room here is no one in the Trump administration, no one in the opposition ranks, and I suspect no one at the premier's level respects Trudeau. To use a Trump term that's been popular on the internet, they see him as the loser in waiting. They're basically waiting for what everyone expects will be the fall of the government in the springtime. After Jagmeet Singh's pension vests in February, that the government will fall, we'll go into an election, and they'll probably be the largest Conservative majority government elected in Canadian history. So, this Team Canada approach, it's kind of like, it's sort of the last minute flailings of what's seen as a doomed government. So now the challenge is going to be, is the new government, are they able to make any headway? There's going to be a heck of a mess for them to clean up.
Absolutely. And how the new government is going to deal with Donald Trump in the White House also is something. But briefly, Michael, I have very little time. Canada being the 51st state of the United States, your thoughts on that comment?
Well, I mean, it was a flippant comment, but the really troubling thing is when you look at online polling, you've got
Yeah.
about half of Canadians who are saying, "Yeah, I've got no problem with that." I mean, my own son, who's a computer coder, he'd be better off, much better off economically if he was working in the United States. Housing costs would be lower, and his salaries would be higher, and his taxes would be lower. So, I mean, it's a very troubling, and we're in an incredibly weak position, probably the weakest Canada has ever been since Confederation. And unfortunately, the blame for that goes right to the Trudeau government. I mean, it wasn't that many years ago that Canada's middle class was doing better than the United States. Now we're doing worse than any American state. So it's been a tremendous fall for this nation. And half the people are like, hey, if the Americans want to roll north, that's fine by me.
All right, we leave it at that for now. Michael Gagan, political analyst. Always a pleasure, Michael. Thank you for breaking it all down.
Thank you.